From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
Right now at 6, new information on the COVID vaccine rollout here in Indiana, when we could find out who's next in line, and how the state is managing the doses it already has. We are getting insight into why children aren't able to get the COVID vaccine, the steps scientists and doctors need to take before that becomes a reality. Thousands of Indiana families were cut out of the first federal stimulus package, why they're now being included, and what this means for our economy.
So much overgrowth, it scratches your vehicle.
A local man says he's got a laundry list of things he wants improved in his neighborhood, and he's been trying to get results for a decade. WRTV is working to get to the bottom of those issues and finding out why it has taken so long to get answers. Good Wednesday evening to you, and thanks for being here with us. I'm Mark Mullins. First, a wet day around Indiana. It kept many of us inside, but the birds didn't seem to mind the weather out there. The issue meteorologist Kyle Mounts is monitoring now, the falling temperature. And Kyle, this could translate into some trouble for the morning commute.
Yeah, it could be a little bit slick out there as we go into tomorrow morning, Mark. We're already starting to see some transitions here as far as the colder air moving in and a few snow showers. This was from earlier in Rochester, Indiana. Some of the big snowflakes out there with that temperature hovering around freezing. Don't be surprised if they're pretty large, but shouldn't add up to maybe more than a half an inch on some of the grassy areas. You can see that transition line basically moving through the city right now. I've had some reports of now sleet pellets that are mixing in downtown, and around Muncie, the same kind of situation. Frankfort, Kokomo, some light snow showers. That continues in Crawfordsville as well. And here's a look at that transition. As we go to 11 o'clock tonight, most of the precipitation will be off to our south and east, and I think we'll dry things out by tomorrow morning. But those temperatures, they're going to continue to fall. Right now, above freezing in Indy, 41 in Shelbyville, but we will all be dropping into the 20s as we go into tonight, and that's why we could have some of that standing water freeze, especially on sidewalks and that kind of thing. We're in the lower 30s through 10 o'clock. We'll get you ready for another system coming our way in just a bit.
Well, starting at 11 p.m., the Indianapolis Department of Public Works will activate a full shift of SnowForce drivers to pre-treat potential slick spots. That means 80 drivers will be out around Indianapolis. Crews will work through the morning of New Year's Day to help protect Indy roads from refreezing. The question here in Indiana still remains tonight. Who is next in line for the COVID-19 vaccine? The State Department of Health's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Lindsay Weaver, says there is hope. The excitement surrounding the vaccine. The state reports nearly 76,000 Hoosiers receive one dose of the vaccine, and more than 110,000 are scheduled to be vaccinated through next Monday. Another 40,000 doses are set aside for long-term care residents. According to Weaver, more details will be available within the next week on the vaccine rollout here in Indiana. This comes after she says the External Vaccine Advisory Committee met this week.
I want to stress that we are moving in a very intentional order of eligibility for vaccine. We want to ensure that we have enough vaccine before we open up vaccinations to additional groups.
Weaver also emphasized no vaccine has been wasted or expired. She says hospitals have been asked to have a standby list to make sure nothing goes to waste if someone does not show up for their appointment. Sometime this evening, the state says an online vaccine dashboard detailing the rollout will go live. What is clear when it comes to the vaccine rollout is children will have to wait. Dr. John Christensen with Riley Hospital for Children says the biggest challenge with vaccines is that their trials have only included adults. Right now, the Pfizer vaccine is currently authorized for those 16 and older, while the Moderna vaccine is for people 18 and older.
Eventually, studies will be continued in regard to children, initially started in adolescents and eventually in younger children. And then perhaps in several months from now, we will have indications where we can give it to young children. But right now, I think it's going to be months before we see the routine vaccination of young children.
Recently, trials in children began for both vaccines. Tonight, we are learning more about the prevalence of a rare inflammatory illness that's been linked to COVID-19 in Indiana children. We're talking about multisystem inflammatory syndrome, or MIS-C. It's a condition in which different body parts can become inflamed in kids, including the heart, lungs, kidneys, brain, skin, eyes, or gastrointestinal organs. The State Department of Health says 34 MIS-C cases have been confirmed in Indiana since the start of the pandemic. Of those 34 cases, Riley Hospital Hospital for Children has treated 21 of them. Riley tells us 6 other kids are being reviewed for the possibility of having MIS-C. 3 of them are currently in the hospital. It's important to note that doctors have said most children will recover from the illness and most just have mild cases of it. But the long-term impact is still unknown. For the second straight day, the state is reporting more than 100 additional COVID-related deaths. Today, the Indiana Department of Health confirms 109 additional deaths. In total so far, 7,812 Hoosiers have died with the coronavirus. The State Department of Health also reports 4,819 additional COVID-19 cases. 505,017 people in Indiana have been diagnosed with the coronavirus since March. Data from the state also shows that as of yesterday, 2,941 people in Indiana were hospitalized either with COVID-19 or symptoms that could turn out to be COVID. That's 10 fewer hospitalizations statewide than on Monday. Nearly 22% of Indiana's ICU beds are currently available. Yesterday, about 25% of the ICU beds were open. Another big note that came out of Governor Holcomb's COVID-19 update today, the state will once again allow elective surgeries and procedures. The state paused those procedures on December 16th as hospitals became overwhelmed with COVID-19 patients. The governor says hospitals are still dealing with a lot of patients, but the number of hospitalizations has dipped a bit. So elective procedures and surgeries are back on for now. More than 100,000 Indiana families who were not eligible for stimulus checks in March will be receiving them this time around. Officials announced last night $600 direct payments will start showing up in bank accounts this week. The Rebound Indiana is our effort to help you and your family through the financial impact of the coronavirus pandemic. WRTV investigates Kara Kenny joining us now with who can now get money and why some say this impacts our entire economy.
Victoria Hernandez lives in Plymouth, Indiana. She's been married to her husband, Jose, for 6 years, and they have 2 children together. The entire family did not receive a stimulus check earlier this year.
I kind of got this gut-wrenching feeling like I don't think we're going to get it.
They are a mixed status family. Victoria is a citizen and Jose is an undocumented immigrant from Mexico, living in the U.S. since he was 6 years old. More than 100,000 mixed status families like the Hernandez family live in Indiana. The federal government excluded mixed status families from the first round of stimulus checks, meaning American citizens did not get the money because of their spouse's legal status.
We should never have been excluded in the first place. I can't imagine someone saying that, my kids don't deserve it just because their dad's illegal.
Back in May, WRTV Investigates introduced you to other Central Indiana women, American citizens who did not get stimulus checks because of their partner's immigration status. Mixed status families fought back. They contacted their representatives, and some filed lawsuits against the federal government. It made an impact. The newly passed relief package now includes stimulus checks for mixed status families like the Hernandez.
Kind of surreal. I don't know. I guess I'll believe it when I see it.
Undocumented immigrants are still not eligible for stimulus payments, but this time U.S. citizens and green card holders will be eligible to receive at least $600, as well as an additional $600 per dependent child, even if they filed their 2019 taxes with an undocumented immigrant.
I think everyone will be very thankful that they're listening. And just appreciate the fact that they've included families like mine.
U.S. Congressman Andre Carson tells WRTV, "I'm pleased we are making progress in righting this wrong. We shouldn't be playing politics with people's lives and livelihoods. All Americans have been hit hard by COVID-19, regardless of their citizenship status, and they all need support." Katie Rosenberger is an Indianapolis immigration attorney and says our entire economy benefits from mixed status families receiving stimulus checks.
This could be a huge help to catch up on rent, to make sure that food's on the table, to pay for childcare.
Rosenberger says the vast majority of undocumented immigrants in our community are working, paying taxes, and working toward becoming U.S. citizens.
It takes a year and a half, 2 years, sometimes longer. It's costly.
Jose works in construction and his visa application is still pending. The Hernandez family plans to use the stimulus money to put in their savings for any unexpected bills. They're grateful to Congress for including mixed status families this time around.
And I hope that if it ever goes further, that they keep us in the loop with everything, just because we're just as deserving as the person next to us.
Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
Well, mixed status families may not receive the full amount if the couple earns more than $150,000. Also, the newly passed relief package retroactively makes mixed status families eligible for the stimulus checks allocated by the CARES Act back in March. A 29-year-old Martinsville man is dead after a grain bin collapse in rural Morgan County. The sheriff's office says this happened around 8 this morning on the 9800 block of North Man Road, that's just south of Southwest Way Park. Investigators say Stephen Crocker pulled his truck up and under the grain bin to load corn onto his vehicle. According to the Indianapolis Fire Department, after Crocker stepped out of the truck, the bin collapsed, burying him in the corn and pinning him between the truck and the bin. Crocker did not survive. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation. A West Side man wants the area behind his home cleared out and cleaned up. He says he's having a hard time figuring out who can help him, though. The city confirms they've heard from the man multiple times over the last decade and say they've been working with him even prior to us reaching out. WRTV's Troy Washington shows us why he isn't giving up on the fight to improve his neighborhood.
All the trash washes down on the creek and gets stopped up right here.
Things are clearly clogged up here on the west side, not far from Malcolm Capp's Westbrook Avenue home.
When it comes a heavy rain, it overfloods. I've seen it all the way over this road here and all the way up in the yard.
Before the next big storm happens, he wants this junk cleaned out. WRTV reached out to the city about this particular issue. They tell us there is a project in the works that could ease his concerns, but it is not quite in the design process yet. Though drainage issues usually are the responsibility of the property owner, the drainage project could help Capps. Then Capps says there's the issue of weeds and trees in the alleyway. He says his aunt's car has been scratched as she drives to her home.
So much overgrowth, it scratches your vehicle.
She uses the alleyway because it's the easiest way to access her home.
They usually tell me it's somebody else's job.
Here's the thing, according to the city, it's tricky when it comes to determining who is in charge of upkeep in the alleyway, whether it's the city or if the overgrowth is on private property. He also wants this alleyway looked at again because he thinks it needs to be fully filled with gravel.
They said they'd come out and do the rest, but they never did.
Capps says that job started 10 years ago. WRTV is working to find out the specifics of that particular project. Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
The city is currently taking a closer look at some of Capps' concerns to see if there's anything that can be done immediately to fix some of the things for him and his neighbors. A warning from healthcare professionals tonight, and it involves fallout from the pandemic, what they're expecting to see and how it impacts you. The forecast for the Ball State football team: sunny skies, warmer temperatures, and one more game. Coming up in sports, the Cardinals are trying to make some more history this week in the Arizona Bowl.
Sounds like a nice forecast. Us, on the other hand, here at home, it's going to be a little bit of a wintry mess as we go into the new year. On New Year's Day, could have the potential of some freezing rain. How much ice accumulation we could start off the new year with? You're watching WRTV News at 6.
At Ashley Home Store.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
Welcome back. A warning from healthcare professionals tonight. They believe the coronavirus pandemic this year will result in a greater number of measles cases next year. The CDC estimates more than 117 million children may miss out on getting the measles vaccine worldwide. Dr. Chandy John is a pediatrician and infectious disease expert from the IU School of Medicine. He says the measles vaccine is proven to be safe and effective, but they're already seeing a decrease in people getting the shot. He thinks everyone is worried about catching the coronavirus at the doctor's office, but Dr. John says that measles is more contagious than COVID-19.
Your risk of COVID going to a doctor's office is low, so get your kids immunized. That's number one, by far the most important thing I can say.
Dr. John says if you aren't vaccinated, the odds of catching measles will grow once travel resumes and students return to school. Key signs of measles include a whole body rash, fever, pink eye, and a runny nose. Our Hiring Hoosiers commitment means every day we are finding companies that have open positions so you can find the job that you need or want. So let's get to the job feed. Hiring Hoosiers partner Spherion needs warehouse associates to begin work immediately in Mooresville. Starting pay is $13.25 an hour. Spherion says you will be primarily building displays for products. The shift is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We do have a link for you to apply in this post on the Hiring Hoosiers Facebook page. Express Employment Professionals Indy South needs multiple machine operators to work in Greenwood. This is a first shift position. The hours are 6 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The company offers medical benefits as well as paid holidays and PTO. Express Employment Professionals Indy South is also hiring a first shift shop assistant to work in Indianapolis. You would assemble and install equipment, package products, and keep the shop clean and organized. You will get benefits along with PTO and paid holidays. Pay is $14 to $15 an hour. And you can find even more positions on the job board at hiringhoosiers.com. Kyle.
Well, we are going to continue to track some of this snow that's moving through. Had some sleet in the downtown area, kind of wavering back and forth between some rain and a little bit of snow for us here. Again, not expecting much in the way of accumulation, but you can see where we've got some of these brighter bands within the radar. Not necessarily that we're seeing thunderstorms, because we're not seeing that, but we do have some of that sleet that's up there in the clouds, and that kind of creates that brighter effect, or returns there on radar, and that eventually will come down to the ground, and that's what bounces out there. We've got Crawfordsville, Lebanon, dealing with a little bit of light snow activity. Anderson kind of right on that rain and snow line as the colder air continues to pour in here. 50 in northern portions of Kentucky, but it's 34 in Lafayette, 35 in Indianapolis. So temperatures, they're at or above freezing, even though we've got that snow moving through. So that's why we're expecting the roads to stay initially in pretty good shape here. It's as those temperatures continue to fall, though, that we could see some slick conditions developing, and there's that wind kind of howling out of the northwest around 10 to 20 miles per hour for us. Winds will relax a little bit here as we go through the rest of the night, and tomorrow shouldn't have too much of an added chill factor, but those temperatures will be cooler. Mostly cloudy skies, only 30 degrees at noon and about 33 as we get into the afternoon. So these are seasonable numbers for what we would expect as we get into the very last part of the month of December. 35 in Lafayette, 37 Columbus, and about 34 in Indy. As we get you ready to bring in the new year here on Thursday night, I think we will continue with our dry weather out there and fairly light winds. Temperatures that'll be around 30 degrees here as we approach midnight tomorrow night. And then into early Friday, that's the next round in this active weather pattern that we have had. TrueCast at 5:30 Friday morning shows that pink expanding in coverage here. Likely to see some freezing rain that will continue to expand to the north, and it may linger here for areas like Lafayette and Kokomo a little bit longer, so you could see some thicker ice accumulations there. Something we'll certainly have to watch, but as we go through the day, temperatures should warm and things will thaw out a little bit. But we do want you to be alert here for the end of the week with some slick conditions possible. Could see around an inch of rain and a little breezy there as well. 7-day planning forecast, 50, a late day high on Friday. Then the weather pattern quieting down next week with highs in the 40s.
Well, the Ball State football team will get some time in the national spotlight on New Year's Eve. The Cardinals won their first conference title in 24 years. They will face San Jose State in Thursday afternoon's Arizona Bowl. WRTV's Brad Brown shows us how BSU's stellar season came together.
As the Ball State football team arrived in Arizona this week, it is a scene that seemed unlikely just a couple of months earlier.
Thrilled to be here. Our guys have worked so hard for an opportunity like this. Obviously, accomplishing our goal, winning a MAC championship was tremendous, but this is the next great challenge for us, winning the first bowl game in the history of our program.
Ball State opened the season with a heartbreaking loss to Miami. Cards gave up a last-minute touchdown after tying the game, but since then, Ball State found a way to run the table all the way to a conference championship.
All year we've been picked to finish below all these teams, whether it was Western, Buffalo, Central, and so we just keep on knocking them down and keep on showing them.
Ever since then, the mindset, the mentality has been it's championship mentality. We're trying to stay in the winner's bracket, and that hasn't changed. I know we accomplished our goal of the MAC championship, but make no mistake, guys know that we have a chance to make history.
Close wins at home, blowout wins on the road, and a dominating performance against Buffalo in the MAC title game. All of it a culmination of 4 years of hard work by the entire program.
We
got a lot of doubters, so we just gonna keep going, just make them, notice what we could do, notice how we play, and notice we not like just any, small team. We go out there and compete.
We preach in our program, and kind of the Cardinal way is just, effort takes you a long way, and a lot of their numbers, I think, come from just staying up or staying with the play and, never giving up on it.
And so now they get that much coveted December trip to the desert. The Arizona Bowl won't be quite the spectacle as in a normal year, but the players still reap the rewards of all their hard work in 2020.
You guys are now tuned with Ball State football, baby. Let's get it.
Well, it's been a long road, and coming to a bowl has always been a big goal for our program, and being able to put in the work and get to this point where we're successful and being able to have the opportunity to play in the Arizona Bowl is huge for us.
This year will end with that one more game they've been chasing, and it will only fuel the Cardinals even more in 2021.
9-point underdog, and like Coach New was saying, I hope it's 10 tomorrow. Obviously in the MAC championship game, I think we were 13 or 14-point underdogs. So obviously, and we've shown all year that, the odds, you don't want to bet against Ball State for sure.
Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
You can watch the IU football team play in the Outback Bowl in Tampa on Saturday right here on WRTV. Ole Miss from the SEC is IU's opponent. Live coverage of the Outback Bowl from Tampa's Raymond James Stadium starts at 12:30 Saturday afternoon right here on WRTV. IU is looking for its first bowl game win since New Year's Eve 1991. Go Hoosiers. We'll be right back.
Hoosiers.com.
Let's take you to Greencastle on this Wednesday evening, and the snow continues there. You can see a light dusting out there, so watch out for some slick spots this evening. As we check out radar, that band of snow will continue to slide to the southeast through the evening. Mark?
All right, that is it for us here at 6. World News is next, and we'll see you back here at 7 o'clock.